Hello and welcome to the SnackReads Presents interview series. My name is Josh Gentry, I'm your host, and today I'm talking with Joan Saberhagen. Joan is a very accomplished person who's done a lot of interesting things, which I hope to talk to her about in the future. Today, though, we're going to focus mostly on the work of her late husband, Fred Saberhagen. So welcome, Joan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us.
A pleasure.
So we'll jump right in. As I understand it, you and Fred were both born in or near Chicago?
Yes, yeah, we're both born in Chicago. Although Fred spent part of his youth, like before 9 years old, in the suburbs. Oh, and then actually he spent some time after that also in the suburbs. Fred's dad died when he was 9, and he spent some time with relatives before his mom was able to take him back. Fred's an only child. So, yeah, he was there. But I'm Chicago for, I don't know, until I was 30, pretty much in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
So yes, we were both Chicagoans.
And how did you meet?
We met in 1967 playing volleyball.
Really?
Yes, really. Yeah, we both very much enjoyed sports. Fred was very good at karate and other sports as well. And when I was young, I was really into a lot of different sports. So we met playing volleyball.
Really? So what kind of a league was it?
Okay. I was this, if you can believe it, I was this little skinny thing, but I had a very, very powerful serve.
Okay.
And that usually impressed the guys. So, and after that, we just started dating. So.
Okay. Was he already? Well, how old were you guys when you met?
I was 24 and he was 37.
Oh, so he was quite a bit older.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of age difference between us. Everyone likes to say that doesn't matter, but in subtle ways, it's there. It's another thing you adjust to.
Yeah.
So.
In what ways does it matter?
I think about every 10 years, there's sort of a social shift in the way people view certain topics. And of course, the closer you are, the more subtle those things are. But I was much more of a feminist than he might have been used to, although he didn't mind it. There was just these issues, I think about every 10 years, the next group of people will see in a slightly different light. We loved each other madly, and it was not an issue. It would be like any other differences that you would find
have in a
when you
relationship.
marry someone. Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So had he ever been married before?
No.
No?
No, he went into the Air Force at about 18, and this was at the time of Korea. And he spent 4 years in the Air Force, came out, went to a junior college, but his mom became very ill, and he spent that time, he had to drop out of college, and he took care of his mom.
Okay.
So he had to get a job and help take care of her when she had failing health. So as far as I know, that's what went on in those interim years there.
So did he lose both his parents pretty young then? I mean, you said
his dad
father
was at 9
yeah,
when he
right.
was 9, and his mom would have been, let me do some arithmetic, in either his late 20s or early 30s. But she had been ill for a while in there. So, yeah, he pretty much was on his own at a
yeah, and he didn't have any siblings. So.
And there were no siblings,
yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty much a loner in that. Although there were cousins and extended family.
There was some extended family.
Yeah. That we, that we keep in touch with. So.
Okay. So was he already writing when you met him?
When I met him, he had been writing, oh wow, I would guess from the time he was 30, so 1960, I believe he started writing. When I met him, he was freelancing without a steady job, full-time freelancer. But he had done that because he could quit his job at Motorola.
Mm-hmm.
They used to have a profit-sharing thing. And after his mom died, he could save up enough money from his Motorola job to take a try at writing. I believe he had been writing, I don't know if it was full-time for the 3 years, but I have seen interviews with him where he says he started in 1960.
Okay.
Now, when I met him, he was freelancing, no
Mm-hmm.
regular job. But one of the nice things is when we were dating, he did give me a copy of Berserker, which is a compilation of the short stories he had been doing.
Uh-huh.
So before we were married, he had published Berserker, but he was really just starting. I think he, a couple short stories in one collection.
Okay. And then if he was freelancing, so he must have done he was doing some other kinds of writing for pay as well, besides just fiction? No.
Just fiction
just selling
and the
short
money
stories.
he had from
Okay.
Motorola.
Yeah.
So.
What did you think of that? Did you think that was cool, or did you think, I don't know, this guy doesn't have a job, really?
What did I think of it? Well, he was we meshed, so it was a whole bunch of fun. I was teaching, so I always thought, well, what the heck, I can earn a living. I don't need it. However, my father didn't quite see it that way.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So when you start getting serious and you start talking in the family and all that. But when we were engaged, Fred went out and got a 9-to-5. He worked for Encyclopedia Britannica.
Okay.
And he wrote short articles. Actually, he wrote one of their science fiction, mega articles as well. So he worked there, I think almost for 5 years. Because we got married and then we had 3 children in 3 years. And he had to have a 9-to-5.
Needed to
I
be a
wasn't
steady
going to
income.
be teaching.
Right.
So that's how that went.
All right. So you were already working, and you said he was maybe a little bit less feminist than you. Did he?
Mm-hmm.
Did he have anything? Did he have a problem with you being a career woman?
Not at all. No, we had it. There were times when he would work and I would take care of the children, and then he may have been one of the first stay-at-home, take care of the kids' dads.
Uh-huh.
And I went back to work for a while. We had a partnership where, we just needed enough money to run the house no matter where it came from.
So you just worked it out.
Yeah, you just worked it out.
Depending on what was going on.
Up. Exactly. So no, he had no problem with that. It wasn't. I don't want you to get the impression that he was anti-women. It wasn't that, or that we didn't have an equal relationship. It was just that the whole movement of the 60s was in my very formative period, and not in his. And perhaps just basically he may have had more conservative general leanings than I do. I was more wildly progressive. I probably still am. But none of these things were issues. I mean, we didn't fight about it or argue about it. On the basics, we were on the same page.
So what do you think was his first big success?
Berserker.
The short story collection?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think that. He Do you want the story behind the Berserkers?
Yes,
Oh,
definitely,
okay.
absolutely.
Well, as I say, Fred had decided that he was going to try freelance writing. This is before we even met. And he turned in stories to various magazines, which was the way in at the time, the way to becoming a professional. One of the stories he turned in was to Fred Paul, who was an editor. I can't remember if it was Amazing or If, or one of the old mags. And he got this letter back from Fred saying, your story's kind of weak, but you've really hit on something with your protagonist, with your enemy there, your berserker. Why don't you develop that idea? So Fred did, for another 15 books.
So originally it was a one-off. He wrote a short story, and he had this, this is a neat idea.
Yeah, and he had an incredibly talented editor look at it, see the possibilities of the story that he had submitted, and steer him, in the right direction to start a real career.
Do you know where the idea of the Berserkers came from in the first place?
No idea. I think all I can remember Fred saying is that he had certain criteria for what he wanted, in his enemy. And it was easier to have a mechanical enemy than a human enemy, or easier or more frightening or whatever. And then he developed the idea from there. But no, what was finally the trigger, I don't know.
Did he tell you what his requirements in an enemy were? Or did he spell it out? Or?
No, I don't think it's exactly gets spelled out. It's when you talk to a person over a long amount of time, that things start coming out. I do think in that first Berserker story, though, that, as I remember our conversations, he had very much thought about what does he want.
Mm-hmm.
And the criteria was something you can really hate without any guilt feelings.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a big fan of Fred's work, and Berserkers in particular. And he was talking about how he's usually drawn to stuff that's really character-centered and driven. And he felt like that maybe, the Berserker stuff wasn't as much that way as some other stuff that he likes. But that the idea of the Berserkers just captured his imagination so much that...
My view, and you don't want my view, you want me to talk about
Sure,
that?
no, give us your view.
I think that Fred's work started out not being character-centered, his writing, but as he matured and got into the Swords and the Dracula series, he began to have more developed characters, that his characters became fleshier. I don't know if, talk to people who study writer psychology, but it may just have been that he needed to work in this earlier kind of mode, partly because that's what science fiction was. It was not character-driven the way our fiction is now. But I think there's a progression. And some of the psychology in the later Berserker stories does attend to what I think your friend was talking about. Because in my reading, I'm character and setting drawn.
Yeah.
I'm not a plot-drawn person. So that was what I would say I see in Fred's work, is that as he went along, his work became more and more driven by human psychology. So. But we'll let the scholars do that.
That's right.